The Prophet ﷺ recommended to the Sahabi to fast only 3 days a month. He said, I can do more than that. He said, then fast Mondays and Thursdays. He said, I can do more than that. He said, then fast every other day, the fast of Dawood, but don't exceed it. That same Sahabi said towards the end of his life, I wish I would have listened to his first suggestion, because it became difficult for him. But the point is that he took a mandub and he kept the practice up. He didn't abandon the practice. If they took on a practice, they kept it up. That's why it's very important, whatever you do a little bit and be continuous in it. And if you want to add more, but don't لَن يَشَدَّ الدِّينَ أَحَدٌ إِلَّا غَلَبَ. If you try to take this religion on all at once, it will overwhelm you. So you take what you can, and then you do that little bit consistently. It's better to pray 2 rak'ats, every night, than to get up every once in a while and pray 10 or 13 or however many you pray, 8 at tahajjud. But to be consistent, and then if you want to add on, you add on, but do it slowly. Pace yourself. And so this is what he's saying. And he doesn't mean they conflated wajib and mandub. It's just that they, as practices, if the Prophet recommended something, they did it. And this was the early community. Now, part of the reason for that, and the reason that he was so strict about these things, in the hadith in which he said, Antum fi zaman, man taraka minkum ushra ma umira bihi halak. وسيأتي على أمتي زمان من عمل بعشر ما أمر به نجا. You're in a time that if you act according to 1/10, if you leave off 1/10 of what I've given you, you'll perish. But there's coming a time for my ummah, if you just do 1/10, there'll be salvation for them. Abu Hamid says about this hadith, it's like, whew. He said, if we didn't have that saying from the Prophet ﷺ, we would have yes, because of what we see in our community and how far we are from that early period. Now, the commentators found that hadith to be mushkil, because they said it couldn't be in the fara'id, because you can't do, one prayer every other day, right? So they were trying to understand. Some of them said it's in Amr bin Ma'ruf and Nahi an Munkar. Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya actually thinks it relates to tahqiq al-manat, that there are certain things that will not be applicable in the time that you're living in the later periods from the Sharia. And this is important for the usuli scholars in particular to be aware of. And so they considered anybody that didn't fill their time with spiritual activities and a'mal khair, they considered them battal, just like spiritually unemployed, like just somebody wasting his time, battal. Imam Malik was asked about music, and he said, لا يفعله إلا الفساق عندنا. The people that do that are irreligious people in our community. So that's important to know. He's in Medina during the time of the Tabi'een. He's from the Tabi'een or Tabi'in, probably from the Tabi'in. But most of his teachers were Tabi'een. So they were people that took directly from the Sahaba. He's in Al-Qurun Al-Mufaddala. So when he says in Medina, the people that listened to music or engaged in music were fusaq. If you took those people and brought them here today, they would be our ulama. They would be our ulama. They would be like big ulama, and people would be amazed at how much they knew. I'm serious. I'm not exaggerating. I really don't believe I'm exaggerating. I mean, Ziryab, the great musician who was a student of Ishaq al-Mawsali's, he was a polymath. He knew so many different things. I mean, music was just one thing. Al-Farabi, the great logician and philosopher, was a master musician.